Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of This Dude Draws. Today we're going to be drawing Spider-Man. In this video, I'm just going to talk through the ways of how I created this drawing. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so first of all, I don't like blank canvases, so I prefer to start my drawings off on a dark background. I then create a new layer and use yellow to start my drawing. I set the opacity to around 47% and then just start roughing out my drawing. Just trying to find the position of my character, how it will sit and if it's going to work or not. And guys, just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a guide. Then after you've got your guide drawing, you just create a new layer and then just go back in and do smoother lines and just clean up the drawing a bit so you know exactly what you're drawing. Once that's done, then I just go create a new layer, put that layer underneath my line drawing, and then just start blocking out the colors for my drawing, which in this case would be red and blue, as Spider-Man's suit is red and blue. I also block out the color for the surface that it'll be sitting on, as you can see here. Then just go in with a white brush and make the eyes white. Then on a separate layer, I do the blue. Throughout this whole process so far, I've only been using the brush and the eraser tool. It's a very standard brush, nothing fancy to it. It's one of the standard brushes that you get on Photoshop. Then I move on to putting the web texture onto the suit by creating a new layer and using a light gray or a dark gray, just going in and roughing out the web texture. Now once again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Art is all about having fun and just feeling the drawing. So I just go through and just add the texture wherever I think, keeping in mind to follow the curve of his body. That will also help create the depth. Now I go and I add a sky texture. Using the mixer brush tool, I just smudge the background a little bit. Then for the surface, I just use various contrasts of grey to just create some sort of texture. I drop in a texture of rock and just set that to hard light, just to give it some realism. After that, I bring the opacity down of the web layer, not to overpower the drawing, but just to have it there in the background. Now the fun part starts, to create the shadows and lights on your drawing. This will give your drawing depth. So I just use the standard brush tool, create a new layer, set it to multiply, and bring the opacity down slightly of the brush. And then keeping in mind where the lights will be coming from in your drawing, just putting in the shadows. I then go and do the same for the blue, using a very dark blue color on a new layer, setting my layer to multiply, adding in the shadows, and just taking my time. Once that's done, I just pulled some random images of sparks online and just dropped them into my image and set it to screen. I also drop in an image of debris just to add some life to the image. I add a little bit of motion blur, also add some smoke, and then also I found a flare image online. Here I play around with colors a little bit. As I go along, I'm just experimenting to see what works and what doesn't work. Then moving on to my highlights. I create a new layer, setting it to lighter color, blending the blending mode to lighter color. I bring the opacity down to 54%. Using my standard brush, just going in and adding where the highlights would be. So this is again just keeping in mind where the sun would come from, and just go in and add those highlights. After that, I go in with a new layer and just add some contact shadows. Finally, the cherry on top, I like to create a layer at the top, and using a white brush, a hard white brush, just add in some little highlights that really just makes the image pop. At this point I was just experimenting with a different feel and just adjusting some colors by adding a camera raw filter. Playing with the sliders such as texture, temperature, saturation, brightness and contrast. Finally, I realized I didn't like the sky background. I wanted something more dark and ominous, as he is a Spider-Man. So I added a dark background. After adding a dark background, I thought of putting some sort of subtle design element in the background that would make the image pop. I settled on this red streak. Then I just found a Spider-Man font online, typing out the Spider-Man text and adding just a stroke and an inner shadow. Eventually I realized, hey, this is Spider-Man, he needs webs. So once again, just a new layer behind my drawing, using the normal brush and a hard white brush, and I just quickly went in and drew a very rough spider web. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once again, this is an organic thing, so it's got to feel natural. After that, I added in some motion streaks using red and blue, and just added a standard motion blur, and then just removing the parts that I didn't want covering the image. Finally, I just adjusted one or two small things, and that was it. And here's the final drawing, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you did like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more content like this, and like, comment and share. See you next time.